Welcome back to another MedTech Snapshot, the one question, one answer digest podcast. With me today is a good buddy of mine, Kevin. Kevin's the CTO of Revalve Solutions, based here in Irvine, California. And we're going to be getting into some discussions today talking about R&D's role with clinical development, as well as how you transition an R&D organization into an organization that's maybe a little bit more set up for that NPI scaling experience down the road. So stay with us. All right, Kevin, so we're still staying on that track here in this discussion about, the clinical progress in the organization. But what I want to talk about now is the lull that a fair amount of startups experience, which is, they at one point, all of us were in invention mode, early phase development, but we've now kind of shifted more into continuous improvement. And that shift creates a little bit of a lull, especially as you're going through the clinical process. So my question for you is this: how do you keep the team motivated during that time? Because that period can be 9 months to over a year, right? So what are your thoughts on what organizations can do during that period?
It's a great question. And I think the answer differs quite a bit if you're in a larger corporation versus a startup. Yeah. Like in prior experience at bigger companies, we can reallocate resources. We can move R&D to, ancillary projects or kind of skunk works. But at a startup, there's a little bit less flexibility there. And so we need to maintain focus on getting this therapy off the ground. So I think it kind of starts there of what is our mission as an organization? Are we an incubator and all we're doing is let's create new ideas and spin them out? Yeah. Or, like what we're trying to do is we're trying to change medicine, trying to develop novel technologies, develop novel therapies. And the invention prototype piece is one leg in that chain, but you got to go through clinicals, you got to go through scale up. And so getting the team bought in to that vision of we are all here to change medicine. So that's going to take multiple steps. So are you in this for, the long haul? And that's the purpose that we're all here. So kind of setting that up front is really critical. I think the next reason I'll give is a little bit of a cop-out, to be honest, but it's hiring the right people. Hiring the right people that are able to make that transition. Some people either don't want to. They really just have found their niche, and that's all they want to do is that early stage development, which is totally fine. But then you have folks that are genuinely curious and want to grow and want to develop and can kind of move through that development cycle with you. So while they're fantastic engineers early on, they can prototype, they're just as able or at least willing to do that, manufacturing optimization, kind of the stuff necessary for scale. So it's hard to find, but I think we have a fantastic team and they've gone through these processes before. And so being able to bridge that gap and, the cliche of wearing many hats, that comes into play, but it also has to do with the cycle itself. So I think that's one piece, but then you also always have to keep a little bit of innovation going to scratch that itch. Mm-hmm. So, we just talked about clinical and being engaged in the clinic. There's always going to be feedback. There's always going to be stuff we can make better on the device or the procedure. So, creating space for that, allowing for it, not totally shutting down innovation, even if it's, 10, 15% of what you do, it at least is an outlet so that folks can stay engaged.